It was Thanksgiving morning in Houston. When emergency crews rushed to Jade Youngblood's apartment, they found the 27-year-old in critical condition on her bedroom floor, struck down by a lethal overdose of fentanyl. One friend barely conscious in a bathtub, surrounded by panic, and standing quietly in the hallway was Jade's own father, Joshua Youngblood, the man who had come home for family dinner and who would soon be accused of murder. It was a nightmare twist no one could have anticipated on what was meant to be a day of gratitude. Jade Youngblood was a young woman with big dreams and a gentle soul. She loved music and community. Friends remember her talent for singing and her boundless compassion. She was a light to everybody, her mother Bernice often said. Jade had a wide circle of friends, sang to her baby niece, and treated neighbors like family. She loved animals and even volunteered at a local animal shelter. Jade's home was always open to those in need. She once helped a neighbor after a car accident and sang lullabies to comfort frightened children. She dreamed of one day buying a small house with a yard where any future family could grow up safe and loved. Despite all that warmth, Jade's life had a painful sore spot: her father. Joshua Youngblood had long been an inconsistent presence in Jade's life. As Bernice put it, he was a come-and-go kind of person, always there when it suited him. For years, Jade craved his affection and often gave him the benefit of the doubt. All who knew Jade saw how much she longed for a normal family life, forgiving mistakes that others would not, and hoping that someday Joshua would stick around and be a normal, loving father. By late 2023, Jade was juggling the challenges of early adulthood. A devoted daughter, she frequently shared her work ambitions and personal dreams with her mom. Throughout it all, Jade never lost hope that one day her family could finally be whole. As Thanksgiving approached, Joshua re-entered Jade's life at a greater frequency. He began visiting her apartment more often and sometimes bringing small gifts. On Thanksgiving evening, Joshua appeared at Jade's front door unannounced. Jade greeted him with a big smile and a warm hug, overjoyed to see her father. She invited him inside where a close friend was already helping prepare the dinner. For a few hours, it felt like the family Jade always wanted was finally there. Jade pulled out old photo albums, showed off her cooking, and played her favorite songs in the background. She poured wine and told stories, laughing with her father as if the years of distance had disappeared. In that moment, Jade was living her dream, the reunion she had longed for. But beneath that surface of normalcy, alarm bells were quietly ringing. The friend noticed Joshua slip off to another room with a strange bag he'd carried in. Jade's mother, watching from a distance via video chat, felt a twinge of unease when Joshua returned with empty hands and a smile. Still, Jade trusted him completely. After all those years, she finally felt safe with her dad. He was the man holding her hand at the table, not a stranger in a hostile house. It was a portrait of domestic bliss, until it wasn't. Jade's father was planning something far more sinister for this family celebration. Around 10 p.m., the tone of the evening shifted dramatically. After sharing a few drinks, Joshua reportedly pulled out a stash of pills. He told Jade and her friend these would make the celebration even better, handing each a small tablet. Everyone trusted Joshua. They took the pills without hesitation. Unbeknownst to them, those pills were laced with a fatal dose of fentanyl, a powerful opioid many times stronger than heroin. Within minutes, Jade's vibrant world began to fade. She slumped in her chair, her face growing pale. Her friend suddenly realized something was terribly wrong and panicked. Jade's movements slowed until she could barely lift her head. The friend scrambled to turn Jade on her side, desperately calling for help, a neighbor, anyone who might hear. The scene quickly turned into horror. The friend staggered to the bathroom and collapsed into the bathtub, fighting the effects of the poison. Jade fell to the floor, barely conscious. The friend, now partially revived by her body's fight, managed to dial 911 with shaking fingers. Paramedics and police arrived in the cold hours before dawn. They found Jade on the bedroom floor, barely breathing and already blue with lack of oxygen. In the adjoining bathroom lay Jade's friend, unconscious and soaking wet. Medics immediately administered Narcan, naloxone, to the friend, saving her life. But Jade was not so lucky. Every second was critical. The first responders applied CPR and adrenaline, but Jade's body was already too weak. At 5:10 a.m., paramedics pronounced Jade dead. Her father sat outside in handcuffs, stunned by what he had seen unfold. Jade's friend was rushed to Ben Taub Hospital, where doctors combed for clues about the attack. Her body bore the evidence of violence: bruises on her arms and hips, torn clothing, trauma consistent with non-consensual contact. She was dazed and traumatized, scarcely remembering how she had ended up in the tub. Through tears and with doctors' help, the friend later recounted waking up in the bathtub with no memory of the hours in between, only a deep sense that a crime had been committed against her while Jade lay dying. The weeks after Thanksgiving brought a frenzy of forensic tests and interviews. Detectives methodically pieced together the tragic events in Jade's apartment. The autopsy report on Jade was devastatingly clear. She died from a lethal cocktail of drugs. Toxicologists found fentanyl, alprazolam, Xanax, and alcohol in her blood. Each of those substances alone is dangerous. Together, they are a lethal mixture. Investigators noted the especially high level of fentanyl in her system. This was no accident. Police gathered statements from everyone involved. First, they interviewed Joshua Youngblood. He told detectives he arrived at Jade's around 10 p.m., had a few drinks with her and her friend, and then fell asleep on the couch. He claimed he later woke up to find Jade unresponsive on the floor and immediately called 911. He insisted he never gave Jade any pills and had even warned her about using Xanax. But the surviving friend's account painted a very different picture. She told detectives that Joshua had snuck the drugs into the apartment that night. She remembered taking the pills he gave her and then blanking out. All she could recall was waking up terrified in the bathtub, her body recovering from the overdose. The evidence supported her story. The injuries she had were consistent with someone who had been attacked. Forensic nurses noted her bruises and lacerations. The brutal details of the assault became a key part of the investigation. It became clear that while Jade was fading on the floor, her own father had violated her friend upstairs. Crucially, investigators found inconsistencies in Joshua's story and lots of proof against him. Jade had no history of illicit drug use, making the fentanyl in her system impossible unless given by someone else. Neighbors' cell signals placed Joshua at the apartment during all the critical hours, and no other people were inside. In the trash, police found empty foil wrappers from pills. Lab analysis confirmed the residue was pure fentanyl. A safe search of Joshua's car turned up paraphernalia linked to the pills. Every piece of evidence pointed to one conclusion: this was an overdose delivered on purpose. Then came the press conference that solidified the case. Acting DEA Special Agent Will Kimball gave the shocking summary of that night.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. My name is Will Kimball, and I'm the Acting Special Agent in charge of the Drug Enforcement Administration in Houston, Texas. In late 2023, our DEA Overdose Task Force began investigating the death of 27-year-old Jade Taylor Marie Youngblood, who died from acute fentanyl poisoning. The facts of this investigation are appalling, because the suspect isn't a stranger, but rather the victim's father, 46-year-old Joshua Youngblood. In 2023, on Thanksgiving Day, a day where most families get together to give thanks, Youngblood had other plans. Our investigation reveals that those plans involved drugging his daughter and her friend so that he could later take advantage of his daughter's friend. Our investigation shows that Youngblood gave both his daughter and her friend fentanyl. While the daughter was gradually dying from fentanyl, Youngblood proceeded to sexually assault his daughter's friend, who was also under the influence of fentanyl at the time. This case is extremely disheartening, because it goes against all decency.
Investigators are expected to discuss the case against 45-year-old Joshua Youngblood. Court documents say in November 2023, Youngblood gave his daughter a white powder, later found to be a deadly mix of fentanyl, alcohol, and other drugs. She died of an overdose. Records also show Youngblood faces a separate case of sexual assault filed the very same day, but the details on that case are limited. He's currently being held on a $150,000.
Joshua Youngblood's story unraveled further in court documents. Forensic tests showed he had traces of fentanyl in his own system that night, suggesting he had taken some pills too. Records revealed he hadn't called 911 immediately when Jade collapsed. Instead, according to investigators, he had done nothing, not even try basic first aid, while Jade lay dying on the floor. On January 29, 2024, a Harris County grand jury indicted Joshua. The man who once held a baby girl was now formally accused of murdering her. At the May 2025 hearing, prosecutors presented the damning evidence against Joshua Youngblood. They noted that Jade's case was among the first charged under Texas's new law allowing fatal fentanyl deliveries to be treated as murder. Joshua was booked into jail on a $150,000 bond, and he remains in custody as the case moves forward. Throughout the proceedings, Jade's mother Bernice has been a vocal presence. In court, she confronted Joshua. "Jade loved you and you took her from us," she said, the grief and anger in her voice shaking the courtroom. Her words hung in the air as everyone absorbed the weight of them. The trial will include testimony from the surviving friend, forensic experts, and investigators. For now, Joshua Youngblood awaits his day in court to answer for the crime. If convicted of delivering the lethal fentanyl and assaulting the friend, he could face decades behind bars, perhaps even life, under the new statute. Jade's story is a heartbreaking lesson about trust and family. Her sudden loss has rippled through her community. Friends light candles in her honor every Thanksgiving, and counselors now share Jade's story to warn others of hidden dangers. Bernice volunteers in drug awareness campaigns, often reminding parents, no parent should ever have to bury their child. Jade's tragic end has left an indelible mark on all who knew her. It is a warning. Sometimes the greatest danger comes from those we trust most. Her name now stands as a cautionary tale about the deadly reach of fentanyl and the heartbreak of family betrayal. In the end, Jade is remembered not just for how she died, but for how she lived. As someone who always tried to bring people together, her memory urges us to cherish our loved ones and stay vigilant, because the poison of betrayal can sometimes hide in the safest places. Family should be a refuge, but even the closest ties can fracture. Stay alert, look out for one another, and reach out if you sense danger. See you in the next story here on Fatal Family Network. Thanks for watching.